Welcome to iDriveSoCal, the podcast all about mobility from the automotive capital of the United States, Southern California. I'm Tom Smith. Here's what's happening in mobility news. Hollywood celebrities make headlines daily, but not usually for their involvement in road rage incidents. It sounds like actor Chevy Chase of Saturday Night Live and the classic movie Caddyshack may have his fame to thank for not getting charged in this one. The incident started on New York's Mario Como Bridge when the actor was apparently cut off by a vehicle occupied by two young couples. Chevy states he thought their vehicle came in contact with his, and that's why he chased them down, locked them in, got out of his vehicle, and approached theirs. The young couples in their 20s state the 74-year-old star was in full tantrum mode, screaming original lines such as, "Do you know who I am?" and "I'll ruin your lives." This while he opened the door to their car and attempted to punch one of the young men inside. That young man kicked Chase away from the car just before bystanders stepped in and broke up the scene. The young man was charged with second-degree harassment, and he clearly didn't know who Chase was, even after going home and Googling him. No word on the actor's likely bruised ego, but it must be intense because way back in the day, when Chase was doing the Weekend Update on SNL, he'd humbly open each segment with this quote, "I'm Chevy Chase, and you're not." The Trump administration is looking up to the stars, or the moon more specifically. Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross says the moon may be turned into a kind of gas station for deep space travel. While the idea isn't new, it's picking up steam as the Trump admin looks to commercialize more space exploration. The concept is for space travelers to stop and grab moon ice, convert it to fuel, then head off into the solar system. And regarding space exploration by private companies, Secretary Ross praised SpaceX, calling the launch of Falcon Heavy with a Tesla Roadster an amazing thing. And speaking of SpaceX, the company's latest innovation failed this week, but I'll bet they nail this one very soon. Similar to landing and reusing rockets, they're working to catch and reuse the nose cones of rockets. Apparently those things cost millions of dollars, and saving them means space travel gets that much more affordable. So, what super high-tech method does SpaceX plan to catch the nose cones with? Why, a large net, of course. The net acts like a catcher's mitt and is attached to a large ship called Mr. Steven. Mr. Steven and his mitt missed earlier this week, but not by much, and SpaceX is already planning adjustments to grab the next one. And that's what's happening in mobility news. Coming up this week on iDriveSoCal, we excitedly talk about autonomous driving and the latest innovation being served up in cars we drive. However, there's one group that would like to tap the brakes on the pace at which our society is adopting all these new technologies. John Simpson of Consumer Watchdog shares his group's concerns.
Another thing that has to be dealt with is the so-called ethical dilemma, which is, okay, if there's going to be a crash, who does the car kill? So consider a situation where a 6-year-old kid comes out into the street. Does the car, faced with the choice of swerving into a wall and smashing the vehicle and potentially hurting the people in the vehicle, does it do that to save the kid, or does it hit the kid? Those kinds of decisions are going to have to be programmed into the software that's going to run the robot car. And we think that the kinds of decisions that are going to be programmed in at that ethical level have to be publicly discussed and understood.
Plus, new kid on the block Genesis gets Consumer Reports nod for top automotive brand. Download Friday's podcast for details on the honor, along with comments from Jay Park, the owner-operator of Genesis of Glendale, a proud partner of the iDriveSoCal podcast. Subscribe to the iDriveSoCal podcast and never miss an episode. And give us a like and follow on Twitter and Facebook. For iDriveSoCal, I'm Tom Smith. Thanks for listening.
This episode was engineered and edited by Micah Palmquist.